Hey, brother. Tell us who you are. Oh, shit. We can't hear you, brother. Seems we're having a little bit of difficulty. Let's see. Brother, can you hear me? There we go. But you got to unmute. Oh, man. You can't hear me, but you. Dang. Let's try this again. Hey, child, we always have a little bit of technical difficulty as we're learning these new things in this platform. But no worries. Let's try this again. I'm going to bring forth my favorite brother, Brother Ed. We've got so much to talk about. Hey, brother. Now that we got your mic working, I believe, why don't you tell us who you are?
Peace. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I
Hey.
can hear you now.
My name is Brother Ed. I am the founder of a platform called One Love Movement. We have an aspect, also, I'm the founder of a platform called the One Love Youth Mentorship Program. We meet every Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where we provide a safe space, educational space for young boys and girls ages 10 to 16. Very grateful that to have two of your kings in there, Sister Jara. And so, in my personal space, also, I have a life coach business that is under my One Love Community LLC. again, providing service to men, women, and children organizations. And so, but it was everything positive and healthy, and just being an asset to the community. So that, for the most part, sums me up, sister. I'm excited to be here.
Super dope, brother. Uh, and we got my mama coming in here shortly. So tonight we wanted to talk about well, you've seen me grow through the years, and you've mentored to my sons. Uh, Tonight we were talking about the cultural stigma and lack of diversity in healthcare. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
I personally haven't experienced anything personally with the healthcare, but there's been people have told me about that stigma in the healthcare situation, but I personally haven't.
What about you, Rod? Have you experienced stigma when you're going to the healthcare facilities?
Hey everybody, yes. How you doing, brother Ed? Y'all hear me okay?
Yes, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to see you. Good to see
Good
you,
to see you.
goddess. I apologize again. I'll get it eventually. Uh, so I can tell you as a grandmother, I'll just start there. That as far as the healthcare industry stigmas, there are definitely there is definitely a resurgence of interesting stigmas that are there, not necessarily spoken out loud, but they're there. And the insinuations are made, that assuming that if you're look a certain color or a certain way, and you're in a maternity ward, for instance, and they don't immediately see a male, that you must be a single mother, and it they don't I don't know if they mean to do it, or it's just it's become so commonplace to assume that this is the way things are, and it doesn't necessarily ring to be true for everything in every situation, but it's definitely the vibe that you get, the sensation that there's something afoot here. Why are we being spoken to differently, and why are we being addressed differently, and why are things assumed about us? You know, and mostly I see it with women in general, but it happens to all of us because they're again we become the caretakers, you know, of the country, so to speak. We've been the caretakers for a long time, and so we established a certain decorum on how you act and how you speak, and that decorum was among certain people. It was not, out there for the public to be aware of. You, if you were on the receiving end as a customer, or patient, or client, you receive that kind of respect. But when you're in a situation where the level of healing and just appreciation and respect generally for humanity is not there, then you get these kinds of pushbacks, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I've experienced it as a grandmother and as a mother, a young mother. Yeah, it's real. So the issues that happen with us are kind of dangerous because we get caught up in thinking that that's normal behavior, and it's not. There's nothing normal about being stereotyped or being uh, made to feel that there's a discrepancy or a strike against you because you can't possibly have good health care if you look like this, or you come from that neighborhood, or you work at this job. And there's so many assumptions in the industry that they're very dangerous, um, to me. So
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
yeah, the thinking is off. We got to do better with we've got to do better with our thinking. But
Uh,
definitely thank you. Want to thank you for coming on tonight, Brother Ed, and adding to the conversation. I think the title of the episodes that we're doing regarding a lack of diversity in healthcare takes place on mostly the medical side, in terms of not being enough uh, people that represent the people who are the patients. And when you have that diversity, where you're a female patient, but you have a lot of male doctors. Uh, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with male doctors for female patients. Some women like male doctors. My doctor happens to be male, and I love him. He was so good that I turned my husband on to him, and so he's our both of our doctor. But I think in a situation like where you're talking about maternity and having babies and bringing life into the world, that there is a sort of an assumption or a stereotype that women are better nurturers and they care more. And in a situation like that, I would prefer, that there be some sort of uh, cushion in place to care for, to make sure that when a woman brings a child into the world, that she is in an environment that is, and her baby are in an environment that are warm and loving and calm, and not snapping, being facetious, being smart alecky and sarcastic, making uh, jokes and assumptions. And it's just not that kind of a place. You know what I'm saying? For that kind of interaction, because this is a very vital thing. And I'm just using childbirth and labor and delivery as an example, but it is critical for any person who is a patient to be taken care of and to be addressed properly, and not stereotype, and not placed in this place where, oh, there's that stigma there, or they don't do that over there, and we don't need to do that for them because that's not humanity. Please just talk to a human, be a human, act human. And we were human beings, but we're not being very human these days. So how do you
Thank you
feel
so
about?
much.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, I
Thank
agree
you.
with everything that you said was spot on. I really appreciate you sharing that, being so forthright with your grandchildren, yourself, and even to the point, you're so pleased and comfortable with your doctor that you recommended to your husband. So everything you said in between that, I really, I definitely appreciate that very much. Um,
You are, yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are real life situations that are affecting us subliminally. These are part of our, can become part of stressors
mhm,
and traumas. When people are not um, represented well with their health care. When you talk about health care, and that in itself, it's a whole nother world where uh, the conversation is about a healing environment. You can't call yourself a health care if you don't care. You can't call yourself health care when health matters less than the dollars on the table. Can't call yourself a health care environment when you're living in falling for these stigmas and stereotypes, and you're functioning as if they are true. It just affects it so negatively. That's
Yes,
what
it
I've
does.
you know what about you said you never experienced anything in the healthcare industry that shows that there's any kind of stigma. That if you have that, that is amazing. You're you're a rare breed.
No, I definitely know. I know there is a major
Mhm.
stigma out there. I understand it, but personally, I haven't been. I'm very grateful that I haven't had like health crises and things like that to go outside my annual checkups and stuff like that. There, right?
Mhm.
So I experienced a dynamic recently where I went to go get my colonoscopy for the
Mhm.
prostate screening, right? So
Right.
as black men, we
Mhm.
need to be checking on that type of thing, right?
That's right.
And so very interesting. My doctor is black, okay?
Mhm.
So when I went into the office and I showed up, he gave me a hug. He said, "I'm very proud of you." He said,
Awesome.
look around you. And I got there about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I
Mhm.
left around 11:30. And when I left, there was only there was two other brothers in the waiting room, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I definitely understand it that there's definitely which definitely everything you said. I definitely believe that part. But then on the
Right.
other side, there's this I want to say historical fear because what has
Mhm.
happened to us, trusting the medical system,
Right.
with the different things. So people have this apprehension, this phobia sometimes. So I definitely love this conversation. But me personally, I haven't experienced. I haven't had no operations. I haven't. I strive to take care of myself. I think the food is my best medicine. The food, exercising, and
Yes.
striving to maintain an attitude of gratitude, all that applies to our mental and physical health. All right. So, but definitely,
Absolutely.
this is a great conversation.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to say too, also about in regards to I just want to just put it out there in regards to the diversity. Let's just keep it right. Well, let's say the stigma. We won't say diversity. We'll say because we're talking about cultural stigmas in terms of the number of mortality rates in regards, and then we just mentioned. I use it as an example. Maternity and labor. Uh, the childbirthing. So sometimes, and we read a lot about it in the newspaper, sometimes I don't even really want to believe that some of that stuff is true, but it is. And it is true as a result of the stigmas, as a result of the cultural inadequacies in healthcare on the side of the um, patient and the healthcare worker. The mortality rate should be level across the playing field, period, just as a result of humanity or human beings being born or dying. That's how we that's the role of a life. You're born and then you die. But the scary part that for me is when people are in the healthcare industry are making decisions that are based on the foolishness that I don't believe that you have the money, so you got to die. I don't want to say it like that. It's in your best interest for us to just go in and let you die. These are real common. You wonder why people are mental if they're mentally ill. You listen to some of the rationalities that people say or think based upon cultural stigmas. It is better for us to let you just waste away here than to go back into your situation, because there's no one. Now this is real. There's no one there that can take care of you if we let you leave. That's not necessarily a stigma. That's a cultural reality, because people have lives and they don't have time to take care of Aunt Annie, or Grandma or whatever. And that's as crazy as it sounds, and as crazy as it is, that those are realities that we're living with right now in 2021, 2023 rather. So yeah, I definitely am afraid of the reality that could happen to people that I know or that and decisions are being made sloppily and negligently, and they're basing it upon and or under the belief that they're helping you. Now, how crazy is that? So I don't know. I did want to hold on a second. I lost my sheet. Yeah. Anyway.
You know, it's an interesting dynamic is to think about um, how higher the maternal the maternal mortality rates is for Black women versus the counter white women. So I think that is at the highest level to support this topic here, right? Because
Right.
Black women face mortality at such an alarming higher rate, and so there's definitely a vicious stigma and a reason behind that, and it's not
Hmm.
good because
Right.
medically they think that Black women can endure more pain than the counter, white women, and so that
That's
is a
another point I was
real
going to
thing.
make. Yeah. That's a critical point you just made, and it's still, you know, reeked in incorrect belief system. I believe that they can handle this pain better than this person. So I'm gonna hold off on giving them these good drugs. I mean, that is, and people are losing their minds. I can't take that. It's just, that is unreal, but it happens every day. Every day somebody is being denied a pill, or hang on, she can handle it a little bit longer, or we're gonna wait until and so, and these are real things that happen in the hospitals. And it's steeped in the again in that belief system that you can handle stuff that you know other people can't handle. So we're not going to give that to you. We don't think you need that. And it's based upon my skin color or my race. It's crazy. I'm really afraid for what we're creating here, and what is happening that we can't do anything about, but we should be able to do something. We shouldn't have to be doing anything about it. It should be, real. I mean, shouldn't even be a conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks for bringing that point up.
Hmm.
Um, it
What do
is
you
definitely
feel? What do you feel is a solution to this catastrophic situation? Because I believe personally, I say that racism has poisoned every system. We're talking about the medical system right now, right? And it's a proven fact that the topic that there's um, there's something seriously going on between the healthcare that Black people are receiving,
mhm.
mortality rates versus white people, right, or any other people, but between Black women, white women, maternity. What's the problem? So, what do you feel is a solution to this serious dynamic?
um, I want to say that for me, a solution would be an easy solution would be to just educate, but there's too much trauma and there's too many uh, rooted stereotypes and ideologies that have been perpetuated for so long that it would be hard to uneducate or re-educate our society. We are conditioned, you know, from childhood that this is normal, this is natural, this is how it is. And unfortunately, in so-called marginalized communities, um, we're suffering, and we shouldn't have to, as a result of someone's incorrect belief system. So we can bring awareness to the situation, try to support the healthcare industry in a way of education, and uh, open up the conversations regarding diversities among us as people. And we're living in a melting pot. The country is what it is, and um, we have to start bringing some education so that the healthcare system can be credible and not functioning and focusing on foolishness and belief systems instead of what is actually taking place. So I think it's important for us to get connected to our communities, create some think tanks, figure out how to address this situation from a community based place, and work to keep the conversations open in the healthcare industry so that people don't get too comfortable with just doing things as they always have done them, and thinking that's right and that's correct, and it's incorrect. We are I remember a friend of mine told me, if you want to uh, be safe in regards to COVID, don't sit out here and talk to your neighbors or your friends. You go talk to your hospital, the doctors at the hospital, because if something happens to you, that's where you're going. You talk to your doctor and let them know, let them tell you, educate you on what is going on, so that when you're in a crisis, they've already, declared what has to be done. So the conversation has to be just like you talk to your children's teachers at school that teach you. You should talk to your doctors in the doctor's office that heal you, or try to anyway. And for me, one of the most important things that I'm thinking about is trying to do, like you said, take better care of yourself. If you take better care of yourself, and speak and understand what your conditions are, what your weaknesses are, what your predispositions are, understand your body, right? What you eat, what you do, how you live, so that when you go to the healthcare facilities, you go there with a knowledge base about yourself, your own health. And that's one thing. So you got your situation. This is my health. This, I know my medical records. I know what I'm taking. I know all my pills. Da 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 da. So I'm going there with that knowledge and information, and I'm sharing that with you, the healthcare facility. Then, in addition to your own understanding about your own medical and health records, you do the research about your doctors, right? And the healthcare provider that you're going to, whether the hospital or the doctor's office, and the urgent care, whatever. You want to understand what their philosophies and their policies are, so that when you go, you got your information about you, and you got their information about them. Because one thing they will not that will no one will ever be able to argue with you about is, according to your policies, sir, ma'am, right here it says that I should get this and I should get that. So I would like this and I would like that. And you feed them their own food. You make them accommodate you. Another thing I would say that they have now is it's like a little portal. You can join it, and you can go up there and you can see your records, and you can print out your records, and you know what your last conversation with your doctors were. And the third thing you can do is to take an active role and taking care of yourself and making sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you know what's going on with your body. Like, why would you want to know that? What's going on with your body? And then I would say the last thing would be, for me, I would consider um, um having a stronger relationship with the doctor that you feel comfortable with. You know, tell them what you like and what you don't like, what you will do, what you're willing to do, so that you don't have to take the drug. You know, and I got off my drugs, my prescriptions, because I don't like taking those kinds of pills. I don't like what they do to my body and how they make me feel. So I told my doctor, "Hey, I'm not taking this anymore." And she said, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, I'm going to get serious about my health, and I'm going to make a commitment to myself to get off of this stuff. And when I came back with that bag full of prescription drugs and dumped them on that little bed in there, and he's like, "Well, how did you get your blood pressure down if you haven't even taken your pills?" I said, "That's the right question. Do you want to know my answer?" And I told him, some of the things, I had some natural remedies and therapies that I was doing that helped lower my blood pressure and kept it there. Juicing was one of the things that help my blood pressure, celery and cucumbers. And that's a freebie for you. and it and after that, it was a wrap. I was like, okay, so if that's all I have to do is to, you know, take my health into my own hands and do what I'd have to do, what I need to do. Hey, that was easy. What about you? I know you don't go to the doctors because you are a doctor, right?
No, so for me, first and foremost, first I really appreciate and I value everything you said. That was a masterful way to for solutions because I really liked what you said. Know yourself, know your health situation, know your health issues, have a relationship and conversation with your healthcare provider, but know the questions to ask. About your body. You know,
Mm-hmm.
check their background, things of that nature. Vet them, ask those important questions. But ultimately, for me, everything you said, I love and I agree with. But for Brother Ed, it's essential for me to one take care of myself. That starts with my diet, right?
Right.
And not just the food I put in my body, but how I think, the energy I'm around, and
And
then
what you
me
put in your head.
personally, yes, and what you see, what you hear, and then secondly is I have a very thorough relationship, and we have conversations at least 2 times a week with my herbalist. She's a doctor, Dr. Grace. So I go the herbal way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as you alluded to, medicines only create more and more medicines. You start with one pill, before you know it, you have a whole bag of
Yep.
Skittles, a whole bag of Skittles.
A bag of Skittles.
And the reality is this: medicines don't cure anything. It just it doesn't cure it.
Yep.
But when you have a competent herbalist, the
Mm-hmm.
herb will heal and cure whatever you got going on. But you still got to do things on your side. The herbalist is important because you don't just take herbs to take herbs because it sounds slick or it's a new thing, a new fad, but you got to know the combination of herbs to take, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so that's important. I detox also. I
Right.
detox things of this nature. So I really like everything you said. I just encourage everyone to get a relationship with well, for me, it's with your herbalist. Have that conversation about your situation. Be very authentic with it, honest about it, address the issues, and then begin to have that type of lifestyle, you know.
That's right.
But it all starts in the kitchen.
It
It
all
all
starts in the
starts.
kitchen.
Your messing cabinet is in the kitchen.
Well, the whole concept of the fit to heal is getting fit so you can heal. People, it sounds nuts. Like, what do you mean get fit so I can heal? Because your body already has what it needs. You just need to activate the body with fitness. And then once you activate your body, and then it becomes the uh, the alchemy in your body from eating well and exercising changes so that it can receive the healing foods, the healing thoughts, the healing things that heal the body. And as a, I'm an herbalist as well. And during the COVID season, um, I was creating some herbal tea blends to help people with their immune system because that's what was being compromised. And what I learned was that, um, you know, our body already has its own immune system. It can fight off what it needs, but it needs something to fight with. And two things we don't give our bodies is enough energy through exercise and enough energy through proper nutrition. And when the body doesn't have the energy to do and to go into battle, when wartime comes, it's going to get beat. It's a simple philosophy. It happens in war, and your immune system is your warrior. It's what fights for you when attacks come. So, and you said you love everything I said, but what I really love, what you said, it was about how important it is to establish a relationship with not just the doctor, because the doctor is one, and he can only prescribe drugs. That's all the doctor can do. Look at you, diagnose you, look up your nose, look in your ears, and tell you, okay, I think such and such will fix that problem. It might cause 10 more, but it'll fix that problem. Okay, that'll be $100. See you next time. And you go, and you're not going to get any better from taking the drug. It may be a temporary fix, but like in homeopathic medicine, if you give your body just a little bit, it'll start waking up, and okay, oh, you want me to do that, and it starts doing that. But yeah, that's me in homeopathy. um the One of the things, I would recommend that you said, I think is critical. And I also said it, and because it is critical, and that is that you need to find credible physicians. If you see something going on in the medical world that perpetuates a foolish stigma, or uh, perpetuates a poor belief system, then you need to say something. You need to go somewhere else. You need to tell people, run, do not go to that doctor. The Fit Goddess has asked, how do you think cultural stigma affects individuals' willingness to seek help for mental health issues?
Ooh, that's a
That's a
big
good
one.
question, isn't it?
That's a profound question.
Yeah.
I think this is my thoughts. I believe collectively, right?
Hmm.
Black women are more prone to seek to help through counseling, therapists, life coaching, mental health, things of that nature, right?
Hmm.
But the stigma really is on in our community on black men. So when black men gather in barbershops and wherever we gather at, and if this conversation even comes up, it's immediately dismissed or turned into a joke because at best they're going to say collectively, "Oh, that's for white folks," or
Hmm.
"I don't trust them. I don't want to tell them my business." And then when you mix in the rap music and everything else, and then the foods we eat on every level, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, then it's a whole different conversation. So it has a tremendous, I would even go as far as say, Jara, it has a catastrophic impact on the culture because as young black boys out there right now, they don't have that example and promotion of therapy, of counseling, seeking coaching, seeking mental health, things of that nature. That's not promoted, right? Collectively, right? So we need more conversations like this, town hall meetings. If we got to start locally where we gather in some type of center or in someone's home or right now backyard, let's set some tables up. Let's have some good food back there, some good juicing and some fruit, and
Yeah.
have a conversation like a town hall in the back. And
Yeah.
so we have to start somewhere. And I think the more that we do that
I
and
love that.
advocate that, so
Hmm.
something I did, I've been going to the same barbershop for many years. So what I did two things. So when you go in barbershops, the vibration conversation is very low. So normally speaking, the conversation is about sports and about black women,
You can see
right?
the levels raised when you start talking about certain things, and then
Yeah, so
kind of
it goes.
dies down.
So you talk about women is very low. So when
Hmm.
I came inside of it, I said, "Hold up, brothers. I got a mother, auntie, I have a daughter. Could you imagine if your mother would listen to this conversation?" And everybody got quiet. So I said, "Listen. Every time I come here, which is every Friday, when I come in here, as long as the vibration is positive, I am going to buy 5 pizzas every time I come in here. But if not, y'all take care of my barbershop, my haircut." So
Hmm.
now we got a nice little healthy conversation. Then we start talking about health. And I start recommending to everyone, let's do it for 3 days. Let all of us detox for 3 days. And I
Okay.
gave some recommendations, some herbal teas, things of this nature to detox with, boom, boom. I take 2 teas. One's called a parasite tea, and the
Hmm.
other one is it's a parasite one, and then the other one is a can't think right now, but it's another one. I got downstairs. I take them, and
Prebiotic. Or
no,
probiotic.
I tell you, it's a parasite tea. And the other one, it come to my mind in a minute. I ordered it from a brother named Dr. Holistic. His name is Dr. Bobby Price. You can check him out on Instagram. His name
Hmm.
is Dr. Bobby Price, aka Dr. Holistic. But my personal herbalist, her name is Dr. Grace. She's on Instagram underneath Honest Herb Store. And she has some amazing, herbs, all kinds of stuff she
Okay.
gets in there. And so, to answer that question, sister, is that absolutely it has a tremendous impact culturally. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes. Hmm.
We got to shift language and we got to make mental health, therapy, taking care of yourself, health, we got to make that fly. We got to make that hip. And you do that by having conversation and someone embodying it, like you and Sister Jarvis. I know me and Sister Jarvis, we talk a lot, and she embodies it. So
Hmm.
that is very inspirational. And
Hmm.
so I think we just need to have more conversations and bring awareness because a lot of black men, between fear, ignorance, and then historically speaking, the
Hmm.
medical field has done black men wrong, us as the people wrong. So we
Right.
all gonna go back, think about the Tuskegee experiment, things of that nature. So we just gotta
Hmm.
learn things, and I encourage everybody, when you go to the doctor, just know the proper conversations, questions. You
That's
can
right.
select a you can select a black doctor. You can get that. You can get
And
something like that there.
you can research them before you select and see how they
Hmm.
rate, and
Hmm.
they have all of that stuff already on the sites for you.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I think I want to thank you for what you just said, because um, that whole thing of having that conversation. I'm a life coach, and I think for me the life coaching thing, even though you know my background is far more. This is what they want to call it. That's fine. So I don't have to be a doctor. I don't have to be a licensed clinical therapist. So between you and the next stage of mental health uh, 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 addressing a mental health issue. You have you have people like me in between. Say I don't want to go directly to a mental health facility and talk to a doctor. I just want to talk to somebody to see what's going on with me. And then people like a life coach could say, or wellness coach could say, the problem is it's worse than what it may be worse than what we think it is. Maybe you might need to go see deal with your mental health. You may end up being there, but you may not. You may find that one of the things we all, the goddess and I, both embody, is the mind, body, and spirit connection. So if I'm looking at you, and I have my background in ministry and all, psychology and whatever. Say the goddess has her stuff in psychology and mind, body, spirit. We're looking at a person who comes to us, whether we're doing the virtual, online, or in person. And to answer your question, yes, I do virtual. I'm sure Brother Ed does too. Um, to give you an opportunity, if you're not comfortable coming in person, or you're comfortable coming in person but you don't want to go to that person, or don't want to be labeled that. After we finish having our backyard conversation and eating on some good food and detoxing and eating fruit and juicing some fresh vegetables, and it's the next day, and I want to feel good and address my issue that it may be a mental health issue, I might go and see a life coach and say, listen, I've been having some issues with this. I'm not going to tell you I know the solution, but I'll listen to you and I will help you see that the reason why this is happening is probably because of this. And the reason you're doing experiencing that has to do with how you are viewing this. And it is very, um, you know, interesting to see the connections. So I'm just glad
Yes,
we're here to help. We don't offer everything, but we do offer a lot of things, and they
yes,
can.
yes.
She asks now, how can we replace the mental strongholds of fear by historical and generational trauma? There you go, brother
Ooh,
Ed.
ooh, she dropping some master questions out there today. The goddess, well, I wouldn't expect nothing less from her, though. I wouldn't expect nothing less.
Absolutely.
Um, how can
Keep
we
you on your
replace?
toes.
How can we replace the mental strongholds of fear placed by historical and generational trauma? And so we have to begin to, with that strong question, I think, for Brother Ed, what I did, Sister Goddess, and to you, my sister Robin,
Hmm.
what I did is this. I always recommend to young black boys and their mothers begin to do exactly what our ancestors have always taught us. All our great sociologists, from John Henry Clark to Ben Yakinen to our brother Dr. Naeem Akbar, they said the best knowledge. You know, me, you, and Jar, we have an education, right? A higher learning education.
Hmm.
I respectfully say that don't mean nothing if we don't have the knowledge of self. The greatest
Exactly.
knowledge is the knowledge of self, which leads to the love of self, the understanding of self, right? So
Hmm.
once you get there, then you begin to eradicate that historical fear that's been embedded into us, you know,
Hmm.
and you know that self, right? You start
That's
getting
right.
the confidence of yourself. So it is not the solution. The issue is very complex, right? Because it's affecting us at so many different levels. But the
Hmm.
remedy is to begin to find yourself. And so I recommend meditation. First of all, eating right. Start there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Start with your diet. They say, as a man thinketh, so is he, right? So
Exactly.
begin to change the diet mentally,
What you.
spiritually, morally, what you put in your mouth, what you see, the conversations you have, right?
Hmm.
And you have to understand how to protect your energy, and that comes with having boundaries, right? That's how you protect, and you teach people how to treat you, right?
That's
So
right.
regardless, I would say, um, go through the process of getting to know yourself, and there's many books that you can get. Uh, if they're young black boys, adolescents,
Hmm.
from Brother Ed's perspective, there's nothing more powerful, nothing more inspiring than to go to Dr. Naeem Akbar. He has books that are 50, 60 pages
Yeah,
maximum,
yeah.
and they're all entitled The Community of Self, Know That Self. They have one, he has one called Visions for Young Black Men. And so
Hmm.
he's teaching you who you are. He's teaching you that you're a lion or a lioness. And once you understand who you are and you begin to love yourself, the fear automatically begins to eradicate. And that's the speed line to answer your question, Goddess, is just to get to know yourself and study things like hidden colors one through five. When you see these type of things and you learn these type of things and you know yourself, most importantly,
Hmm.
that fear begins to eradicate because fear will paralyze you. It'll cripple you. It'll
Yeah,
stifle you.
yeah.
It
I
will
just
hinder
wrote.
you
I
from
just
doing
wrote
from
that.
doing you. Hmm.
I
So
just wrote
that.
that. It's
Mm-hmm.
true. It will. It keeps you stagnant. You can't move. It
Mm-hmm.
will cause you to rot in place.
Hmm.
And we're, you know, the goddess has her t-shirts and hoodies talks about how simple and effective and life changing being having a fit mindset is. And I was telling her how important, critical it was for her to share that with me because I was, I was feeding myself some stuff that wasn't good for me, here. And I agreed with you to get to know yourself. And I was also say starting with your physical body. Yes, that's right. Know thyself. And once you understand how your body works and your mind works, and then you start to see that you're a human being and this is what it entails. Hey, everybody has the power to change their entire lives right here within them.
You
It's
see this?
there.
So here was a great book right there.
What's it called?
New Visions for Black Men. Dr. Naeem Akbar. He has two of them. One's
Okay.
called Visions. His old book in the '80s is called Visions for Young Black Men. This is called Visions for New. This is called New Visions for Black Men. The
Hmm.
thing I like about his books is every chapter he asks a slew. He asks you about 5, 6 questions to make sure you're getting the
Got it.
comprehension and it's being inculcated into you. And so he's breaking down the fear. And this is another one. Jara, here's the main one right here. To your question, see what it says right there? You see it?
Oh, bringing the change of psychological slavery. I have that one somewhere.
Yes. And then here's something. This is something I encourage every last one of us. Take your children, your grandbabies, get a nice little dish of food or treats, and sit down and watch this.
Hidden colors too.
Yeah, I got 1 through 5 in here, but what I encourage you to do is
This is about
only play.
auras.
It's about no, it's about her question. It's about overcoming fear. It's about teaching you true history. So what I encourage you to do, it lasts like 2.5 hours. Only play it for a half an hour. Cut it off, and then have a conversation, and then
Okay.
break it down. Don't watch it like it's a comedy or that.
Okay. Brother
Who
Ed,
was
what's on your
on?
shirt? The sister want to know
Oh
who is on
yes,
your shirt.
oh yes. This is a brother. This is one of my clients, and he is an up and coming artist.
Uh
And
oh.
He's from South Carolina. And if you Google, his name is Money Train. He
Money.
just did a song. His name is Money Train. He just did a song with Anthony Hamilton called Down,
I
Down,
remember
Down.
him.
But he made this one. My favorite song he did. He did one during COVID, at the apex of COVID. He came out with this song called COVID-19.
Yeah, I
And
remember him.
so
Okay.
if you hit the Google, the goddess, go check out COVID-19, and he works out real hard too. The goddess, he's in the gym, young brother, man. He's really thriving to come up to the music industry, and so I support him as much as I can. So yes, that's what that is, Money Train.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Brother Ed,
Question. Hmm.
go ahead.
So
You had a
my
question?
question to you, you and the goddess, what advice would you give if a black man came to you as a client and he's reluctant or has this phobia of going to medical care? Because say black men, we're not going to get our checkups the way we need to be going, right? So, what
Mhm.
advice would you give to that individual brother?
I wouldn't. I think that that's a general and a natural fear based upon um, our history to fear going to doctors. Our fathers fear going to the doctors, and there's a reason for that fear. We might not understand it. We might know it, not know it, but that's generational, and that's part of a trauma, as a people that keeps us, as the men, keeps our men from going to those places because we're protective as a species. A man is protective of himself, and if anything happens to him, he can't take care of his family. So he can't afford nobody to be playing and practicing on his body. So, and then you see the disparities as a result of people going to the doctors. They never gone to the doctors. The next thing doctor did this surgery. Oh, it was the wrong surgery to put the foot on the leg or something. I don't know. And then, they're out. So they're like, no, my life is too valuable for me to. So I wouldn't say anything. I would just let it would be a natural process. And I would definitely encourage them to do something for themselves if they're not going to go, if they're apprehensive about. In the meantime, and you need to address the situation, we have options, remedies, therapies that would be helpful. And you may not even have to go to a doctor, but you got to address it. Even if it's a mental issue or it's a physical issue, you have to give people their space to get comfortable with doing something like that, going to a doctor and having the doctor check them out, and not being afraid of hearing bad news. Not let that fear stifle them from even
Mhm.
going because they're afraid to hear bad news. If you take care of yourself, the news aren't always going to be bad.
Yes, I
If you do
appreciate
what you
that.
need to do, it can be good. So,
Yes, I like that. And here's something for you and the goddess right here.
mhm.
Y'all see this right here? This answers this whole conversation we had about the medical. See this right here?
Vegetation, something medication.
It says vegetation over medication.
Okay.
Myths, lies, and truths about modern foods and medicines by the guy we were telling you about earlier, Dr. Bobby Price,
Mhm.
aka Dr. Holistic. And
Okay.
he breaks down a lot of the different dynamics of the health system, stuff like that. It's very inspiring, very
Mhm.
educational. So it's good.
Okay, good. So we got some books to read, guys. Go ahead and hold them up one more time for us, Brother Ed, with the titles, and let us see. You guys write this down. Vegetation over medication. We're talking about changing your diet so you don't have to change your prescription by Dr. Bobby Price. Um, well, we have the Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery by Dr. Naeem Akbar. Am I correct? Yeah. And the other book is New Visions for Black Men by Dr. Akbar also. So you guys have a reading list. We always and Asada Shakur, and that's in another book you got there, self-titled. You got another one. So we always want you to be educated, educate yourselves. And sister says, what future steps or actions would you like to see taken to ensure that marginalized communities have equal access to quality health care? Well, we addressed it earlier. We were talking about the importance of coming together as a family, then as a community, and then educating ourselves and bringing our awareness as to our own health with our doctors, having conversations with our doctors, checking them out thoroughly, researching them, make sure that they're practicing good methods and methodologies and bedside manner, uh, doing the research before you submit and getting a doctor. Also, looking at if you see any kind of disparities and health discrepancies, uh, geared towards someone to know to reroute. We don't do that. We don't go support those kinds of doctors and physicians because they're not supporting us. They're um, being evasive and spreading you know incorrect belief systems, and they're functioning based upon that. So we don't even want to address those. They will take care of themselves because if you're in the industry and your motive is to not help people get healthy, you're not going to survive because nobody's going to go somewhere where they don't feel supported, thriving, and healthy when they leave. So um, that was what I would suggest to anyone. So there we go. You see that, brother Ed? She's talking to you.
Yeah, I'm reading it right now.
Mhm.
Brother Ed, I teach my sons to one, eat, sleep, exercise, doing those daily while one, listening, being respectful, doing their very best will help them navigate the medical system as a tool to extend life. Extra. I love that, sister. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, well, if like I said, like we said earlier, if you take your life into your own hands, your health into your own hands, the sooner the better. You don't have to give it to someone else. You don't have to give your health, okay, I'm broke, fix me. My father always says, um, never leave your stomach in another man's hands. And he says that about everything. Never leave your money in another man's hands. Never leave your education in another man's hands. You got to be responsible for yourself. And if you start off teaching your children to be independent, self-sufficient, as they're young, because those are my grandbabies too, Eli now. So they are very blessed to have their mother, and who is a wonderful teacher of them, and she teaches them how to be self-sufficient and self-reliable and not depend on anybody. You got to learn how to get through this life on your own. So I'm just grateful to her for the wonderful job that she has done with her children. I'm grateful to her for the wonderful job she has done with us and the Fit to Heal, um, the podcast, the guests that are up here. They're amazing. And we really love you guys. We really want to support you and help each other and get ourselves and our community back to a place of thriving, not just surviving. So we're thankful. And since I wasn't here at the beginning, I'm gonna let Brother Ed sign off, and then I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my myself. Um, but everybody, I guess, probably knows by now. But yeah, so Brother Ed, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm signing off. I'm Rosin, your life coach, owner of Alchemic Aura, reflexologist, aromatherapist, herbalist, a bunch of stuff, health and wellness coach, personal fitness trainer. We deal with all things health, wellness for the mind, body, and spirit. We thank you for joining us on Fit to Heal tonight. And we look forward to seeing you again next week for our last session of Mental Health Awareness Month. Thanks for joining us. We thank our sponsors and the Fit Goddess. We love you guys, and we look forward to seeing you again. Take care.